Begin. There we go. Good to see you all. Usually there are more people that show up as we progress, and Anna has preempted putting up the prayers. So we're going to try to set a motivation by reciting prayers. So as we said before, you should try to bring back a remembering consciousness of these details, of a remembering consciousness of what refuge means. That is, having experienced before many times, developing an apprehension, a fear of samsara, at least a fear of the lower realms, a fear of samsara in general, and realizing that the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are the only entities that have a solution, protection, that can provide refuge from that. And when we say, may I become a Buddha to benefit all migrators due to these merits, try to recall you're developing a bodhicitta by effort like that. Sangye churang suki chognam la jangchu bardu dagni kyapsu chi dagi chunyen gipe sognam ki rola penchir sangye drupa sho. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. Through the collections I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit migrating beings. Sangye chodang suki chognam la jangchu bardu dagni kyapsu chi dagi chunyen gipe sognam ki drola penchir sangye drupa sho. And then short mandala offering. By offering this ground anointed with perfume and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon, visualized as a Buddha realm, may all migrators enjoy such a pure realm. O holy and perfect pure Lama, from the clouds of compassion that form in the skies of your Dharmakaya wisdom, please send down a rain of vast and profound Dharma, precisely in accordance with the needs of your trainees, those to be trained, those to be subdued. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Okay, thank you. That's good. So good to see you. Jennifer's joined us, Paul, Rachel, KT, and Cyril has disappeared, I guess. I don't know if Cyril was here. Someone named Cyril was here by mistake or something. So today I'm going to read a motivation that Geshe-la gave at this point, almost exactly this point in the text, on July 16th, 2002. So we will forego our usual meditation, watching the breathing and the mind, because it's very inspiring to me. I hope it's inspiring to you to hear Geshe-la's motivations. And it's very relevant because he was teaching exactly at the spot where we are right now. Okay. So Geshe-la quoted from the Precious Garland, the Ratnavali. Is that right, Paul? Ratnavali is Precious Garland?
Ratnavali, yes.
Ratnavali, correct pronunciation, by Nagarjuna. So these are verses 18 and 19, or 19 and 20, depending on the enumeration of your translation. Geshe-la just mentioned the second verse here, but later at the end of the course, I think at the next to the last day of the course in 2005, this is in 2002, he taught the same verses, the two verses again, as though this was quite important. So I'll read both verses. One of them says, in Tibetan, just for auspiciousness, Chudi Lokpa Zungyurna, Mike Namni Chukyang Sa, Tita Mepa Tawayi Misang Derni. Looks like Yingwargyo, probably should be Jungwargyo. The translation is, one translation is from the text by the text on Lama Tsongkhapa's Sashe Tikchen, the great commentary, the word commentary on fundamental wisdom by Lama Tsongkhapa. In the translation of that, if this phenomena is misperceived, the unwise are thereby ruined. The Tibetan term for that is chusa. You know the etymology of chusa, Paul? Sometimes we talk about it in terms of karma also, that your karma is wasted or chusa. Chu kind of means essence. Sa means eaten. So you've eaten up everything that's good of it. Here it says, the unwise are thereby ruined. Thus, through this nihilistic view, they will sink into corruption. And the second verse following that says, moreover, if it is misperceived. So what is being talked about here? It's talking about misperceiving emptiness within phenomena. If phenomena are misperceived as having an inherent existence, here it says, furthermore, moreover, if it is misperceived, any unworthy fools who take pride in their wisdom in virtue of abandoning it, as a result of abandoning it, will fall headfirst into a Vichy hell. So Geshe-la began to say, in the so the second verse says, Shenyang Dini Loksungwa. If you hold this, moreover, if you hold this wrongly, so Geshe-la said, this refers to ultimate nature, shunyata, or emptiness. When wrongly viewed, when wrongly held the wrong way, in a perverted way, then that's actually dumb or stupid. The second line of that verse said, if it is misperceived, any unworthy fools who take pride in their wisdom, or another translation, the stupid who fancy themselves as wise. When wrongly held the wrong way, that is actually dumb or stupid. From the point of view of that ultimate truth, that is stupid or dumb if you hold it in the wrong way. But one shows oneself to be a master. Yeah, even though you hold it the wrong way, you present yourself as a master, a great scholar who knows so many things, who has so much mastery of things. But actually, when it comes to reality, you're completely left behind. Empty means real empty. They understand empty, and in the future, completely denying these things, as well as karma, proper cause and effect, relationship between dependent natures. All of them are denied, not believing in this. How much a master or how much a scholar one has the conceit of being, the pride of being, So Geshe-la mentioned, so now you are reading about this connection with the two truths. So this is the exact point where we are in the text. The reason for details about the two truths is concerning the earlier Madhyamikans and many logical reasons used by Nagarjuna and so forth. They mainly try to refute inherent existence, true existence, but to refute that, if something were to inherently exist, it would have to be produced from one of the four extremes. Remember the four extremes, right? They have to be produced from itself, from something other than itself, from both or neither, which would mean causeless. Among those, the most strange among them is that there is no inherent production from others. So what did he mean by the most strange? This is usually unsuitable for most people's minds. That is also the argument here. Remember, that was the argument that's being brought up. Come on, Prasangika. What's the need for so much logic? Everyone knows, everyone sees phenomena are produced from others. It's just common worldly conventional knowledge. Why do we need to reject that? Everyone sees, everyone knows cause and effect. Everyone knows that. From some actual real cause, a result is produced. Some causes do not produce certain results. So even farmers and other people, everyone knows that. So you don't need this kind of logical reasoning. This is Geshe-la's commentary. Everyone sees, everyone knows. What are you doing, Prasangika? That is enough. Kind of paraphrasing the non-Prasangikas. Saying that is very dangerous. If there's, sort of refuting the need to investigate this apparent contradiction with conventional truth, that the world sees things as produced from others. That's a very difficult, a very dangerous position to hold. If there's no proper understanding, investigating the careful Madhyamika logic and idea, what Buddha taught, that there are two truths, that everything has two natures. One nature is this, one nature is that. One nature is its conventional nature, one nature is its ultimate nature. Both of them should be known without contradiction. In order for that, what is harmed or refuted by common worldly knowledge, conventional knowledge, has to be understood. That is, because when the world says that there is production from others, does that harm the Prasangika view or not? Many details are explained about what is refuted by ordinary knowledge and what is not. Without understanding that, without that, this will not be understood. Chandrakirti's auto commentary has these, and Lama Tsong Khapa also explained based on Chandrakirti's explanation. That is why we are explaining the two truths properly here, in case you're wondering, right? Earlier, it was said that the two truths have yeshi, the basis of the two truths. So this is what, in relationship to what Nadine was asking just before class, a question about what was referred to in Jimpa's text. I think he said something about the two domains in relation to which the ultimate and the conventional truths are defined have been described as distinct. So in Tibetan, this is yeshi, the basis of division. The base of the two truths is all phenomena. We talked about that last time. All phenomena is the big pizza that we're dividing into the two truths. that actually all the Buddhist schools and they all try to divide into two truths, but they divide it in different ways. What their conception of the two truths are different. And some things, so there are some things that are true according to all the schools, and there are some things that are not ultimately true. Everyone will believe that, but the object, the base, is the objects of knowledge, things that are to be established, to be known by valid cognition, valid knowledge. Anything that is an object of valid knowledge is how Geshe translated, usually like to say valid cognition, what we often translate as valid cognition. Anything that is an object of valid knowledge is an object of knowledge. Does that sound right? Anything that is an object of valid knowledge, valid cognition, is an object of knowledge, something that is to be known, something that can be known. In that, Shepar Jawa is the Tibetan term, Shepar Jawa, that which is to be known or object of knowledge. She means to know. Shepar Jawa means that which is to be known. That is the base. That has divisions. There are two truths, conventional truth and ultimate truth. So earlier, there was a statement, Yewa Donla Yang, Migdawa Dumashik Dukyang. The meaning of the two divisions also has many kinds of differences. But here, in fact, in our text also, I think it's translated in both translations, but here, mainly the two truths are Ngoo Chik. They are one entity. We talk about the Chu and the Chuchen, the quality and the quality possessor. So the base, let's say a particular conventional phenomena would be the base. That is what's called the Chuchen, the possessor of qualities. And the quality, the Chu in this case, is emptiness. I need more hands. I'm trying to hold my one electrolyte drink and hold the paper at the same time. Chu is the quality here. What you put is the ultimate truth, Tempe Tongba, empty of true existence, empty of true existence, so that each dharma, each existing thing has itself, its own conventional reality, and its emptiness of inherent existence, these two natures. These are temporarily different, but they are not ultimately different. They are ngo tate. What does that mean, Paul? Ngo tate?
Different substantial entities, or different. I think more jik ledokbatade is right. Usually, what we say
here is their. These two are ngo tate.
Ngo tate.
That
so
seems to be
two different entities.
Yeah, that seems to be contradictory to what we were saying before. So, what's the case? The two truths. In one sense.
Okay, right. So the two truths are different, but a single phenomena, the conventional and ultimate truth of a phenomena is more jikla dokpatade.
Right. Okay. Right? So that's subtle thing. So what are we saying here? The two truths themselves are two different entities. Something can't be both. One thing can't be both. Let's say a flower. Is that an ultimate truth, Don? Or a tree?
Well, I think it has both truths, so conventional and the ultimate truth.
Okay, yeah, it's subtle differentiation. Why did you disappear?
That was
I
that was
thought
a
you were hiding.
mistake.
I thought you were hiding. So
Now I did it again.
an ultimate, a flower or a tree or a dog or Rachel, not Rachel's, Nadine's dog who just passed away, Tashi, all of them are conventional truths. They're not ultimate truths. They themselves have an ultimate nature, but they are not ultimate truths. How about true cessation? John, is that a conventional truth or an ultimate truth?
Well, it again has an ultimate nature, which is its emptiness, but true cessation. I don't know. You stumped me.
So yeah, maybe it's a trick question. So later, one of the exclusive Prasangika points of view is that true cessations are all emptinesses. I didn't want to say is emptiness an ultimate truth or not, it's too simple. So if you say emptiness or true cessation, those are ultimate truths. They have an entity. They are not conventional truths, but they do have a conventional truth.
So a true cessation is a synonym of emptiness. Is that another?
Or Prasangika, Lama Tsong Khapa's reading of Chandrakirti and so forth says that it's quite explicit that all of the lower schools say that true cessations are some kind of relative phenomena where you have ceased the afflictions, and that is kind of like a state which is a conventional recognizable state. For Prasangika, that particular true cessations are actually experienced in meditative equipoise on emptiness, so they are said to be emptinesses, because the only thing that appears to an emptiness, the only thing that's experienced in a meditative direct realization of emptiness is ultimate truth, is emptiness. So therefore, true cessations have to be emptinesses. But that will be elaborated on much more detail later. That's just an aside right now in trying to explain what Geshe-la said, that these two truths are ngotate. They are different entities. So conventional truths are different entities from ultimate truths. So by actually abandoning causality and dependent nature and not understanding truth properly, without understanding reality, one abandons cause and effect and virtues and non-virtues. You abandon working to create virtuous action. You're not so upset when you create non-virtues. If those are not believed in, the individuals who have this misunderstanding abandon the accumulation of merits for those purposes. So those who actually abandon those things are very unsuitable, very bad nature, stupid. Nagarjuna says those may result in the worst kind of samsaric results, usually called Avicii hell. You've heard of the Avicii hell, right? Shankar, what does Avicii mean in
that I never knew, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
So Tibetans have etymology ngarme. So what does that mean? Does anyone know?
It's
John, do you know?
unbearable, isn't it, John?
I think
Venerable George?
Yeah.
George?
I think it's
Nothing lower.
No, I think it's unrelenting or something like.
Ngar means to suffer. May means all of the time without any hindrance. So yeah, kind of all of that. So it means sort of unrelenting suffering. That means no break, without break, all the time, like a butter lamp, until you finish, until you exhaust the fuel you'll have that karmic situation, even if it takes eons. That kind of result will be there. So that is a very bad thing to do to oneself. When you go there, you're not going the usual way. In this verse, it says, when you go to the Avicii hell by misunderstanding emptiness, that's creating a very heavy negative karma. You go head downward, head put on the ground. Nagarjuna says in the Precious Garland that way. So there is a great danger if this is not understood properly. So in the text it said, what did it say here? One goes headfirst into the Avicii hell. But if this is properly accepted, even if you don't properly understand it, that is to say, if you accept, if you don't have a misconception about emptiness, you're not going to have that kind of result of, especially if you're holding very strongly this misconception. If you don't hold strongly and you accept the correct view, you don't have that problem. You will accept causality, you will accept the need to create virtuous karma and to avoid negative karma. Even at least believing that way, one will function to do accordingly. So there is a need to fear something, fear negative karma, fear many things like that, and to desire something, to desire to be free from cyclic existence. The fear, proper intelligent fear, is one of the causes of refuge. Wanting to obtain something, wanting to get somewhere, to get to nirvana or enlightenment. Then fear and worry, not wanting to go there, these kinds of understandings, because they are all causes and conditions. What leads to good and bad results is only dependent on causes. So therefore, what are the causes of negative results? What are the causes of positive results? All those things one must know and must strive for, even in one short life, following that seriously. So therefore, when we have established, again, the same thing, this is everything Buddha taught, the Buddhist teaching. There are so many different explanations, but summarizing, everything is summarized in the two truths. There is nothing existent other than the ultimate and conventional truth. Buddhas know both sides with the details. They have no knowledge obstacle. They've eliminated the obstructions to omniscience. All the obstacles are removed. Omniscience means to know everything from the point of view of the ultimate and from the conventional, to perfectly understand those two things. We are talking about Shepar Jawayang Kunsop Dang Dondampai Dempa Dir Sete. So this was the thing that we just finished. All of the objects of knowledge are exhausted in the conventional and the ultimate. Okay. So just to give a little background there. So Diana, what do you think?
Thank you. I had a question about the passage you just kindly explained, and about the terrible consequences of misunderstanding.
Right.
And what came to mind is I have seen so many things in popular media, non-Buddhist media, where there will be somebody who seems very sincere in having sought a better way to live their life, or at least to free themselves from the monkey mind. And it so often has, and then I tried Buddhism, but it was very clear to me that emptiness says everything doesn't exist and I exist, so obviously that's ridiculous, so I put that aside.
Right.
And
that's exactly what's being talked about here. Misunderstanding, but perhaps even more so when people have studied some and hold very firmly that, well, not so much that person, they were saying, but I exist. So they're not falling into that particular, what Nagarjuna is talking about here. Those who hold that things do not exist and therefore acting on that are not careful about their actions, and do not observe morality and so forth. So that particular person, kind of person that you're talking about, quite prevalent. Yeah, maybe giving up the path and creating a lot of negative karma that way, but not what is particularly talked about here. The person who's holding that emptiness doesn't exist and so forth, or that the law of cause and effect doesn't exist because everything is empty, everything doesn't exist. They're going headfirst into the Avicii hell.
My question really is, it's the phrase, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And much of the world didn't have any opinion about Buddhism a few decades ago. And now it's kind of floating around in simplistic form. And is that actually something to be avoided?
Yeah, so we could discuss a lot about that, maybe especially on Monday. But there's something to be said for that. If you I think the more dangerous thing is dumbing down the Dharma, which is an expression that people use. Have you heard that expression? Making something which is quite profound seem simple, but missing the point, dumbing it down. So that would be a great obstacle. So let's address that in more detail on Monday in the discussion group. Jennifer, you have a thought?
Yes, thank you, Venerable George. I just had a question of clarification, because, and sorry if you reviewed this in the last class, but you had noted that the two truths themselves are two different entities. And yet also when we talk about one entity, but different conceptual isolates,
Right.
I just wanted to more clearly understand why in one context they would be considered one entity, while in another context they would be considered two entities.
Right. Yeah. So this was Paul was when I asked him, or he answered. So what Geshe-la was saying is that they are two entities, but then when you look at one phenomena, let's say a sprout, it itself has many natures. It has the nature of being impermanent, other things. It has a conventional nature and an ultimate nature, which can also be called entities. They're more or less synonymous. So even though, and so these two entities, let's say these two natures of a sprout would be its conventional nature, its conventional existence, and its ultimate nature, which is emptiness. They both, those two entities of the sprout, those two natures of the sprout, are they differentiable? Let's say, are they different entities within the apprehension of the sprout? That is to say, if you apprehend the conventional nature of the sprout, are you in that case not able to apprehend the ultimate nature of the sprout? Well, I don't think I phrased that right. Let's put it this way. If those two natures, if those two entities of the sprout were different and were different from one another, that would mean that the ultimate nature, the ultimate entity of the sprout would be other than would be a different entity than the conventional entity of the sprout, right? They would be separate. So that would mean then that the conventional nature of the sprout would be truly existent, would be inherently existent, because it is different than the ultimate nature of the sprout. Did you follow? So that detail is going to be talked about now, just now where we're at right now. So yeah, there are a lot of subtle details here. Rachel, do you have one last thought before we begin? Yeah.
Yeah, Venerable George, is it then, I mean, are we distinguishing the mind that's seeing the sprout, apprehending the sprout, has to be a different mind, one seeing the conventional nature and one seeing the ultimate nature? Are we back to looking at it from the subject's point of view?
Both. Yeah, let's begin and we'll get into these details. So just to reiterate, the last thing that I read last class. Oh, sorry, Karen.
Thank you, Venerable George. Before we start, we all just wanted to interrupt you for 1 minute. We have a
Okay.
birthday coming up, which is very special, and we just want to wish you a very happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay.
Others may want to unmute and say happy birthday as well.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So today's the 20th, in 3 days. In 3 days, I received a box from students. Apparently, it's going to be a birthday gift inside, but it didn't say "do not open" until birthday. And with my razor, I opened the box, but I read the letter first. I was about to pass by the letter, and it says, "Do not open until your birthday." So the box is open, but I haven't dealt with it. So thank you very much, anyone who contributed. If it's another necktie or belt,
But we're
I'll send
also
it back to you.
we're making another offering to you, Venerable George, that we wanted to let you know about. So the offering won't come. Another offering will come on your birthday, the 23rd. And it's going to be for $3,375 and maybe more. But that's the offering that everybody has made so far.
Wow, that's a very church. Okay, I don't take any more class time.
Okay.
But I rejoice in your generosity. Let me leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'll be 79 in a couple of days. Okay, so the last thing thank you for that, Karen. So the last thing I'd read here was there in Drippa's text. Therefore, the fact obtained through seeing false reality, which defines something to be a conventional truth, refers to that which is obtained by valid conventional cognition, perceiving false and deceptive objects of cognition. Or as Hopkins translated, therefore, to be found by a perceiver of falsities that posits it as a obscurational truth, conventional truth, means to be found by a conventional valid cognition that comprehends a false object of knowledge, a deceptive object, but does not necessarily realize that it is a falsity. So what are we talking about here? When you're talking about from the subject side, you talk about seeing false reality. So seeing falsities. So that's referring to a consciousness which is obscured by grasping to true existence. Therefore, the fact obtained through seeing false reality, or the object that is obtained, that is found through seeing that, which defines something to be a conventional truth, refers to that which is obtained or found by valid conventional cognition perceiving false and deceptive objects of cognition. Sounds complicated, but there's not, there's some subtle point there. There is a valid cognizer, even though it's perceiving falsities, it is valid with respect to what it is perceiving. So that's what we finished. And then I just read this next paragraph, but didn't give any commentary. Of these two natures or realities, ultimate nature, conventional nature, described above, what is seen by perfect vision, that which is seen by perfect vision, in other words, the object found or obtained by rational cognition, realizing that perfect truth. How can we say the object found by a what do we call it? Reasoning consciousness, realizing that perfect truth. That perfect truth means ultimate nature, right? That which is found is suchness. Again, that's a synonym of emptiness. Why are we switching between words? Because this is giving commentary to the root verse that came earlier. And on my iPad, I have to go back many pages. All entities bear dual natures as obtained by correct or false views of them. Or as Jeffrey says, or as is translated, all things possess two entities, things found by correct and false perception. Any object of correct perception is suchness or thusness. That of false perception is said to be conventional truth. That's the verse that's 6:24, I think it is, 23. That's what's being discussed here in the commentary. So of these two natures, what is seen by perfect vision, that was what was from the Jimpa's translation of that verse, the object obtained by rational cognition, realizing that perfect truth, is suchness, the ultimate truth. This will be explained below in the section pertaining to the lines through the force of an eye disease. One perceives such false things as floating hairs. Actually, Jimpa's just adding that extra thing, such things as floating hairs. The quote, Lama Tsong is just quoting it very briefly. This is verse 629, which comes later. So Jimpa's translation of verse 629 is, through the force of an eye disease, one perceives false things such as floating hairs and so on. Those with clear vision see what is actually so, understand suchness to be like this as well. So what's that talking about? We talked about before this particular kind of experience of which my ophthalmologists call floaters. There's some technical name for it. When you have some debris in the I think in the fluid of the eye, and it seems that there are things floating around, or in the extreme cases, it seems that things are falling, so that a person with this particular kind of eye disease, not cataract, it's sometimes mistranslated as cataract, which is much different. That person might think if they were eating something, they might think that there is hair falling into their soup or their whatever they're eating, their yogurt. Through the force of an eye disease, one perceives false things such as floating hairs and so on. Those with clear vision, so another person, so if you complain, a person with this eye disease would say, there's hairs falling into my yogurt, Sean. And Sean with clear eyes says, no, there are no hairs, don't worry. So the verse says, those with clear vision see what is actually so. They don't see any kind of false things the way that people with grasping to true existence see. Understand suchness to be like this as well. That's the verse that's being talked about here. This will be explained below in the section pertaining to the lines. Through the force of an eye disease, one perceives such false things as floating hairs. So that will be coming. We're at verse 623 right now, so this will be not so long, it's 629. That object of knowledge, remember all phenomena are called objects of knowledge. Anything that can be known are objects of knowledge. There are two kinds of objects of knowledge, ultimate truths and conventional truths. That object of knowledge, namely what is seen by false vision and obtained by conventional valid cognition, is taught by the Buddha to be conventional truth. The two domains, or the two bases in relation to which the ultimate and the conventional truth are defined, have been described as distinct. So that's what Geshe Zopa was saying, that these two truths are ngo tate. Ultimate truths are different entities. They're distinct from conventional truths. There are not two different modes of attaining one and the same thing. So what it's emphasizing here, I think, is that the conventional truth is distinct from the ultimate truth, and it's not simply a matter of something being perceived in two different ways, one thing being perceived in two different ways. They are two different entities. They're not one entity that's perceived one way by a false consciousness, by an ignorant consciousness, and another way by a correct consciousness. They're actually two different entities. Okay? How are we doing? Okay. So then, Jimpa's next outline here, further presentation of the two truths. There seem to be a variety of views when it comes to the basis for differentiating the two truths. Here, however, we take as that basis the object of knowledge. And we'd gone over this last Monday in our discussion group. If you are interested to delve into that, because there were a couple of PDFs that were provided, readings from Jeffrey Hopkins and I believe Jose Cabezon's Dose of Emptiness. You can look at the where is it, Doris? Doris is still there. Where can they find the recording of the last discussion group if they haven't been cued into that?
I'm here.
Yeah, where can they find those recordings? They're in the
Dropbox in the protected materials area on the Shantideva website.
So you can find both the transcript, which sometimes is hard to understand because it's done by AI, but you can find the recordings, and it's suggested that you actually download the recording, because if you try to listen to it in Dropbox, sometimes it's glitchy. Okay, so there seem to be a variety of views when it comes to the basis for differentiating the two truths. Some people said that they're differentiated with respect to different kinds of truths and so forth. But here, we take the basis of the differentiation of the two truths as the objects of knowledge. So we've just been talking about that. All phenomena, all objects of knowledge are divided into two truths. And as a scriptural citation for this. There's the Meeting of the Father and Son Sutra, which is cited in the Compendium of Training. That is to say, Shantideva thought it was significant enough that he quoted it in his own commentary to the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. So this citation from the Meeting of the Father and Son, remember that's when the Buddha comes back to meet his own father after the Buddha had attained enlightenment. His father being, the king, what was it, Yoshodhara, I think, and the son being Siddhartha, who is now the Buddha.
Yasodhara was the mother, wasn't she?
Okay, what was the
Father
father?
was, I'm
Thank you.
thinking Bimbisara, but it's not Bimbisara. I can't remember now.
Okay, thank you for that.
Shuddhodana, I think.
Someone know? Someone say?
Shuddhodana, I think.
Yeah, Shuddhodana.
Shododana. Thank you, Pranav. Yeah, Yoshodhara was the Buddha's mother. Sorry. So the quotation is, thus the Tathagata comprehends the two truths, the conventional and the ultimate. What is to be known by conventional and ultimate truth is also exhaustive. Just to go back. The Tathagata, the Buddha, knows the two truths, the ultimate and the conventional. So that alone eliminates a lot of other people's assertions that ultimate truth cannot be known. So the Buddha knows ultimate truth, for instance. Then it continues, what is to be known by conventional and ultimate truth is also exhaustive. So that means that all objects of knowledge are exhausted or included within those two truths. There's nothing that's left over after you enumerate the conventional and ultimate truths. Furthermore, because the Blessed One, where he translates the Bhagavan, clearly saw them, clearly understood them, and excellently actualized them within emptiness, he is referred to as the omniscient one. Okay, Jeffrey's translation of that. I'm usually using that at this point rather than the FPMT, which is also worth reading, the FPMT translation by Venerable Joan, because Jeffrey has much more in-depth notes and scholarship on these. So Jeffrey translated, it is thus, the ones gone thus, the Tathagatas, thoroughly understand the two obscurationals and ultimates. Furthermore, the objects of knowledge are exhausted as these obscurational truths and ultimate truths. Moreover, because the Tathagatas have thoroughly perceived, known, and actualized well these as having the aspect of emptiness, those Tathagatas are called omniscient. Okay, so Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary continues, and the expression "what is to be known" is a Shepar Jawa. That's what we also translate as object of knowledge. Identifies objects of knowledge to be the basis for differentiating the two truths, while is also exhaustive, quote unquote, indicates that the division into the two truths encompasses everything. And so, because the Tathagata comprehends both truths, he is described as omniscient. He is described as the omniscient. It seems strange to me. He is described as omniscient, maybe works, or the omniscient one. Therefore, the exposition of those who propound that the standpoint of the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, Shantideva's famous Bodhisattva Charyavatara, called the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way, is that ultimate truth is not an object of knowledge, and that it is not realized by any cognition, is a distorted one. So what's he talking about there? That's going to be described below, but there's a verse from the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. So it says the exposition of those who propound. So there are some people who say that ultimate truth cannot be known. We talked about this in the discussion last Monday, such as who was the person that we were talking about? Do you remember, Jennifer? Who was the main person?
Nok.
Ngok Lotsoa, right? The translator. So therefore, the exposition of those who propound the standpoint of the guide to the Bodhisattva way is that ultimate truth is not an object of knowledge and is not realized by any cognition. That point of view is a distorted one. So here, the verse that's being referred to is the second verse of the 9th chapter in Bodhisattva Charyavatara. What's the 9th chapter? Anyone studied the Bodhisattva Charyavatara? Stephen, what's the 9th chapter about? Do you know?
Wisdom, Venerable George.
You should be. I hope there's a comma after the wisdom. It's not. You're not saying wisdom, as an epithet, because I'm not wise at all. So this 9th chapter is the wisdom chapter, and the second verse says, "Conventionalities and ultimates, these are asserted as the two truths. The ultimate is not an object of activity of an awareness. Awarenesses are said to be conventionalities." So we will soon be analyzing that verse just in a couple of minutes. But that's what's being referred to here. So on the basis of that, some people say that ultimate truths are not objects of knowledge, because that verse says in the 3rd line, it says, the ultimate is not the object of activity of an awareness, or is not the sphere of an awareness. Awarenesses are said to be conventionality. So as though because mind is a conventional phenomena, it can't have the ultimate as its object to be known, as its sphere. That's a misinterpretation of that verse. So Jimpa's translation continues, the division into two, conventional truth and ultimate truth, constitutes the actual differentiation. On the question of what exactly the meaning or nature of such a differentiation is, differentiating between ultimate truth and conventional truth, here too there seem to be many diverse opinions. I will explain this as follows. So let me ask something here. So we're talking about the two truths are distinct entities, but with respect to one phenomena, they are said to, as we'll see quite soon, they're said to be the same entity, but different conceptual constructs, different conceptual, what we say, dokpatate, different isolates. So when you practice Tantra, I'm looking around, some of you don't practice Tantra, some of you do. So Louise, when you practice Tantra, when the, let's say, or in other practices also, if the deities come or the guru comes and becomes inseparable with you, does that mean they become one nature with you?
I don't know, but I would think yes. Ultimate
It's good that you
dissolves
paused.
into ultimate.
It's very good that you paused and didn't immediately spouse it. Good. So when we say, sometimes in Tantra, they say the deities, the what is it called? The Samaya being, the Damsikpa, and the wisdom beings become inseparable. John, do you know some expression like that?
Sure.
Yeah. So does that mean they become one nature? Say if you invoke the wisdom beings, they become one nature?
I would say my answer would be the same as Louise I gave. I would think it's yes, they become one nature.
Okay, so when we talk about
Not sure if I'm getting the vocab wrong.
when we talk about nature, we have to go back to the meaning of relationships. There are two kinds of relations. In Buddhism, I don't mean in the world. The two kinds of relationships. Paul, what are they? Do you know?
Relationships that are causal and relationships of entity, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, we say, yeah.
Or however
Right.
phrase it.
Dakni, yeah. So we say causal relations and natural relations, or
Identity relations or something like that.
so when we talk about ultimate truth and conventional truth as being different natures, we're talking about, or in the case of a sprout, two things having the same nature, that is, its conventional truth and its ultimate truth. The conventional truth and the ultimate truth of the sprout have the same nature. That means they have a natural relationship. If one is missing, the other one cannot be there. If two things have a natural relationship, right? If they are the same nature. So, for instance, when your guru comes to the crown of your head and absorbs into you, and you become as though inseparable, the guru's mind becomes inseparable from yours. Does that mean that you are one nature with the guru? No, I don't think so. That would mean that if you didn't exist, the guru wouldn't exist.
Oh.
So, you can
Oh.
kind of think of some kind of
Oh.
construct. Louise just had a Satori moment.
So you wouldn't say there were ngo chikpa?
I wouldn't say they're no chikpa. No, no. So it's sort of you think of some kind of construct like my body, and when you sort of within my heart, you bring the Buddha, you bring the guru, and you sort of scotch tape him there. That's just a temporary residence of your guru, and you try to imagine your mind to be inseparable from him, but that's different than being of the same nature. So that's something you should investigate as we're going along. I just wanted to bring that up because those of you who practice Tantra and also Guru Yoga in general, there are all sorts of little subtleties. In fact, if you go through the practices that you do, especially if you do a tantric sadhana, you'll find the word nature or entity many, many times within the sadhana. So this discussion may be very relevant for you. Shankar, let me just read one more sentence here so that we can just to continue. So the division into two, conventional truth and ultimate truth, constitutes the actual differentiation. On the question of what exactly the meaning or nature of such a differentiation is, here too there seem to be many diverse opinions. I will explain this, however, as follows. Both of these two truths possess natures, possess entities. And it is impossible for two members, two phenomena, to be neither identical nor different in nature. Again, double negatives. It is impossible to be neither. So if two things exist, they either have to be the same entity or different entities. That's what it's saying. There's no other alternative. They either have to be the same entity or different entities. So horse and horse are the same entity. Horse and cow are different entity. Now, if things happen to be different in nature, from their emptiness of true existence. Okay, if things happen to be, if they were a different nature, a different entity than their emptiness of true existence, their emptiness of true existence, they would then come to possess true existence. This is what I said earlier today. Why is that? Rachel's kind of nodding like, yeah, I know that.
Yeah, right. That was the question that arose when we were reading a few
Right.
Like 10 or 20 minutes ago already, that if we're saying that they are different entities, how can we avoid them being not inherently existent separate entities? So this is really the trick. If they are separate entities in their nature, then you know, the two truths are separate entities based on one sprout having two truths. Then how can they not have how can they not be perceived as inherently existent?
So still confusing. So again, there's a subtle question, although it's glossed over as though intuitively obvious, as one of my college professors used to say. I think I told you many times, writing many things on the blackboard, 3 blackboards at the front of the auditorium for 20 minutes, and then intuitively obvious to the most casual observer, right? So no need to even explain. So the two truths in general are different entities, but within one, when you talk about one thing, like a person or a sprout or something, or, you know, whatever basis, my mug, it has two truths. And those two truths, those two entities are those two truths are one entity with respect to the mug or with respect to the sprout. Now, if things happen to be different in nature from their emptiness of true existence, so this is now talking about a situation where you have a thing, a conventional thing, like a sprout or my mug. Now, if things happen to be different in nature from their emptiness of true existence, they will then come to possess true existence. Because if the conventional nature of the sprout were a different entity from its true existence, the emptiness of true existence, what would that mean? So the entity of the emptiness of the sprout, that is sort of that is the nature of the sprout, because the sprout is empty of inherent existence. If that emptiness of inherent existence was a different entity from the conventional sprout, the sprout would no longer have an emptiness of inherent existence. The only thing that it could be is what? Truly existent, you know, hypothetically. How can we say this? All phenomena are empty of inherent existence, right? So if something was a different entity than its emptiness of true existence, it would no longer be empty of true existence. So it would have to be truly existent. That's the point that's being made here. Making a little sense?
Yeah.
Don is sort of like, yeah. Okay. Grudgingly agreeing. Okay. Parnav, you following? Or Pranav, how is it?
Yeah, I'm trying to, Venerable. Yeah.
Okay, I can't see with my Pranav. Okay. Now, if things happen to be different in nature from their emptiness of true existence, they will then come to possess true existence. That's the point that we're talking about. Therefore, just like being a product and being impermanent, the two, conventional truth, such as a vase, and its ultimate truth, its emptiness of true existence, are identical in nature. Or you could say they're the same entity. They're identical in nature, but have distinct conceptual identities, which is what in Tibetan it says, Dokpa Tade. Dokpa can be translated as isolate, can be translated as reverse, many different ways. We'll be going more detail there. But let me get back to Shanka. Shanka, I said I just wanted to read a little bit further before I addressed your question.
Thank you. Amazing that you remembered. But in any case, back to the Tantra and whether the deity and and I are of the same nature. The other phrase that's used is to become one taste. Right.
That's even.
So how does one? Are they both the same? Is that the same meaning for both?
So yeah. So that's another expression that comes. Where does that mainly come, Shanka?
Well, like the minds when they merge. I mean, is that what I can't remember?
No, well, let's say, for instance, when you talk about shamatha,
right,
and when you've actually developed fully qualified shamatha.
Oh, I see. Yeah, when the object of meditation and the mind itself become fused.
It's as though the mind and its object, say for instance, if you were meditating on Shakyamuni Buddha in front of you, it's as though your mind and the object become one, like water poured into water, or like milk poured into water. They become, after some point, they become as though one taste. So does that mean your mind becomes one nature with your visualization of Shakyamuni Buddha? If they were one nature, if you took away the visualization of Shakyamuni Buddha, your mind would also disappear, right? I don't think they're one nature. So what is the John or Paul, maybe you remember from the Pramanavartika, what's the famous line about that? What is it? Mena mejo ngepechir. If one is absent, menga, mena.
Right. If one is absent, then the other cannot occur.
Right. The other definitely cannot occur.
Definitely cannot occur. Yeah.
So that's kind of like a general qualification of relationships. If two things have a certain, if you have a causal relationship, smoke and fire, if there is no fire, then smoke cannot occur. And if they have a natural relationship, if one is absent, one element of the two things that have a natural relationship, let's say ultimate truth and conventional truth, if one is absent, the other could not occur. So that means that they have to be present all the time.
So that's what I was asking is, so when we are talking, so they are, can we say they're equivalent, those two things? That is, two things being of the same nature and two things being of the same taste. Can we say those two statements are equivalent?
I don't think so. So I don't want to put a bow and tie it.
I have to think about it
because you have to think about it. This particular topic although it seems simple, there are a lot of different ramifications in our understanding of the difference between conventional truth and ultimate truth, what it means for them to be different entities, but with respect to a particular basis, to be one entity, to be one nature, is very subtle, and it brings up an immense amount of new knowledge and points for you to investigate. When you read your sadhanas, then you'll start to think, well, oh my gosh, I was always saying this. I didn't understand what was being done when you're talking about two things being one nature. Jennifer, what do you think?
So the related question is the emptiness of the guru and the emptiness of you. Is that the same nature then?
Okay. So in developing, well, let's say the emptiness of Green Tara and the emptiness of Jennifer. If Jennifer's practicing Chittamani Tara, I think that's something that I've heard you like to practice in the past. Where are you? There you. So in trying to develop divine pride of arising as Tara, you would say Om Svabhava Shuddha Sarva Dharma Svabhava Shuddho Aham, which means what, Jennifer?
Oh, it's something like all phenomena are emptiness.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the literal, but I can't. Yeah.
Sarva Dharma, what was that?
All phenomena.
Om
Svabhava
Swabhava.
Shuddha Sarva Dharma. Om.
The nature of all. Oh, anyway.
Svabhava Shuddha. Svabhava means nature, Rangshin. Shuddha means pure, completely clear. So that kind of means is talking about Om. Remember, Om.
Om Sabhava Suddha Sarva Dharma Sabhava Suddha Hum.
Yeah, say slowly again.
Om Sabhava Suddha Swabhava Suddha
Sarva Dharma. Okay, so
Sarva Dharma.
yeah, so the first is saying that all phenomena are completely pure by nature. So in Sanskrit, you can have the Sarva Dharma as the second part of the sentence. In English, we would want to say all phenomena, Sarva Dharma, are Svabhava Shuddha, are pure nature. That means that they are empty of inherent existence. Om, and then Sarva Dharma Shuddha.
And Swabhava Suddha Hum. Yeah.
Then you say what?
Swabhava Suddha Hum.
Shuddho Aham.
Sorry.
Aham. So sometimes
yes.
people have mistranslated it in some FPMT translations also. Aham means what?
First person pronoun, I.
Yeah. I.
John gave the answer immediately. I. So, and I am also of pure nature. So that's what you meditate first of all, Jennifer. So you meditate on all phenomena are emptiness, are empty of inherent existence, and I am also of that nature. And then you arise from that state, going through the death evolution, and you identify your clear light experience, your imagination of it in the generation stage. You identify that as being the omniscient mind. I am, the Dharmakaya. But in particular, to develop the divine pride of the deity, you have previously analyzed the emptiness of Tara and the emptiness of myself. We're both empty of inherent existence. Therefore, I can justifiably identify my emptiness as the emptiness of Tara. Why? Because my usual vision, my usual imagination of myself right now as inherently existent is completely wrong. And I will, practicing Tantra, the effect vehicle, the resultant vehicle, that means taking the future result into the present, I will eventually become Tara. So it's completely legitimate for me to identify, because our two emptinesses are both, our natures are both empty of inherent existence. It's legitimate for me to identify as Tara. So at that point, we're just practicing the generation stage. So you are not yet Tara. So you are not actually the nature of Tara, but this is a legitimate practice to be done at this time. Okay, let's go a little bit further. A lot of interesting things coming up, connection with Tantra and Sutra. As I mentioned many times before, Lama Tsongkhapa mentioned that there were many things from his study of Sutra and Tantra. There were many things from his study of Sutra which clarified things in Tantra, and there were many things in Tantra that were very clear there that clarified some things in Sutra. So there's something to be aware of. So then Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary continues in Jumpa's translation. In the commentary on the awakening mind, which is the text that we have referred to several times by Nagarjuna, so there is a 6 lines, I think, that say, independent of the conventional, no ultimate truth can be found. You know, there's supposed to be different entities, but when you're talking about one thing, they are one entity, one nature. Independent of the conventional, no ultimate truth can be found. The conventional is taught to be emptiness. Right? Here's Jimba's translation. Emptiness itself is the conventional. One does not occur without the other, just as being produced and impermanent. So again, this thing, product and impermanence, or product and impermanent. What's being talked about there? Product is one of the synonyms of impermanent phenomena. Remember when we studied there are various synonyms of impermanent phenomena. But product and impermanent appear to the mind as different, even though they are synonymous. They're referring to the same thing. Anything that is a product is necessarily impermanent. Anything that is impermanent is necessarily the product of causes and conditions. It's a product, but they appear differently. They are one nature, product and impermanence, but they are conceptually differentiable. They are ngo chik tang tokpatade. They are one entity and different conceptual isolates. So in this regard, Jeffrey translated that same verse. Suchness is not observed as a different entity from conventionalities. So this is actually, if you have the translation of the commentary on Bodhicitta by Nagarjuna, I think there are different commentaries out there. This is verse 97b. How do we say? Oh, no, that's, I'm sorry. This is verse 67. The last 2 lines of verse 67 are the first 2 lines that we're reading now. And then the next one is verse 68. So it's actually the first 2 lines from the previous verse. Suchness is not observed as a different entity from conventionalities. How did Chimpa translate that? Independent of the conventional, no ultimate truth can be found. So it doesn't say ultimate truth in those first two lines. Suchness, that means emptiness, is not observed as a different entity from conventionalities. Then Jeffrey continues. The next four lines are from the next verse, verse 68. Conventionalities are described as emptiness. Then he has a commentary. In other words, empty of inherent existence. Conventionalities are described as emptiness. Chimpa had said the conventional is taught to be emptiness. And Jeffrey puts in parentheses, that is, they are empty of inherent existence. And just emptiness is posited with respect to the conventional because of the definiteness. Sorry. Just emptiness is the conventional, and he has, in between the words, he has posited with respect to. Just emptiness is posited with respect to the conventional. Emptiness is a phenomenon that's merely imputed or posited, right? What is it posited to? Something which is conventional, right? Is that right? What about emptiness of emptiness? The emptiness that's posited to emptiness, is that posited to the conventional? Rachel knows. I thought you were nodding. Okay. Yeah.
I think so, Venerable George. I think that because when we talk about emptiness, we are using an imputation. And so therefore we've created a conventionality called emptiness. And so therefore it is posited to that conventionality.
Once you've realized emptiness or you talk about it, you're talking about something that you're imputing to emptiness, which is a conventionality. So emptiness, as is said by Nagarjuna, all phenomena have two natures. Is emptiness a phenomena? Yes. Does it have two natures? Yes. It has its ultimate nature of being empty of inherent existence. It also has a conventional nature, which you can describe it and so forth. And you know that. So when you talk about the emptiness of emptiness, you're taking the conventional side of emptiness to posit the emptiness of that upon. Okay, that's what's meant here. And just emptiness is posited with respect to the conventional, because the definiteness that the one would not occur without the other. Here it has in that verse, it says, Mena mijo ngepe chir. So this is what I was referring to before, like product and impermanent thing. Shankar, you have a doubt, question, observation?
Yeah. So there's another phrase that I'm trying. So when we say that, so when we say that, one cannot arise without the other, is that another way of putting the same thing that we're talking about?
Yeah, that's what we were just saying. That is the definition. That is a defining characteristic of something that has a relationship. So in particular here, we're talking about natural relationship, being one entity, being one nature.
The other thing I wanted to mention, I think maybe whoever has forgotten, time to take a break possibly.
Yeah. Okay. Just let me. Thanks for reminding me. Let's just go a little bit further. So we'll go over this in detail on Monday with the preceding verses and the succeeding verses after this to see the context of what Nagarjuna was talking about here. This text, the Dalai Lama has taught this commentary on Bodhicitta several times, and if you can ever find the transcripts of those, it's a text that goes into much detail about emptiness, many important things. So here, this is a source for saying that they are one entity, but of different conceptual, isolates. The meaning of the first 4 lines, so that means the last 2 lines of one verse and the first 2 lines of the second verse, 68, I think, is this: the suchness of the conventional, that means the emptiness of the conventional, is not of a different nature, because conventional truths are themselves empty of true existence, right? We talked about that in other terms just a couple, at the beginning of the class, not so long ago. The suchness of the conventional is not a different nature than that conventional thing. Because the conventional truths, let's say, so here's the conventional truth, here's its ultimate truth. The suchness, the ultimate truth of that conventional thing, is not a different nature from it, because conventional truths themselves are empty of true existence. All phenomena that exist are empty of true existence. In fact, all phenomena that do not exist are also empty of true existence. Okay? And furthermore, the emptiness of true existence is itself posited as the basis of the conventional. Is the basis of the conventional. I would think that the basis of the conventional is the conventional is the basis upon which emptiness is posited. Makes more sense to me. The last 2 lines of that translation state that, such being the case, the two observe an invariable relationship whereby one does not come into being without the other. And since theirs is a relationship of identical nature, the conventional truth and the ultimate truth of something, the two are shown to be like being produced and being impermanent, or let's say product and impermanence, which are also identical in nature. So it's in the study of the sutras, when we talked about product and impermanence, when we say that they are the same nature, but they are still, to the mind, they appear differently. They're conceptually distinct. So Rachel, I'll take a break just after your question or your comment.
My comment was not a question. It's more when you said that it makes more sense that conventional is the basis of emptiness. It has to be that emptiness is also the basis of conventional. If you are saying that the conventional can only exist as basically as products, basically as not, you can't have a conventional that exists that is inherently existent.
Yeah. Let me just see, where is this? Less variable.
But the basis here means the designated base. Isn't that what we're talking about?
The lines state that being such the case of the two, whereas one does not. Where was that? Was that the previous? Read what that point was, Rachel.
So I don't.
Oh, and furthermore, emptiness of true existence is itself posited as the basis of the conventional. So Jeffrey translated that way, and because emptiness of true existence, emptinesses of true existence are also posited with respect to conventionalities, which are their bases. That's how Jeffrey took it. So the conventionalities are the bases. So let's let that ruminate a little bit. Let your millstones grind on that while you get yourself a cup of tea or go to the bathroom or just look out at this at space and say, it's all okay. It'll all be understood in the end. We'll just take a few minute break, and I will be right back. I'll leave my microphone on so I can listen to the scintillating debate. So the fact that ultimate truth and conventional truth are ngo tate,
Should I come down?
they are different entities. That means that one thing cannot be both an ultimate truth and a conventional truth. So that does not contradict the fact that one thing, like a sprout or my mug or myself, can have both.
Can you mute? Oh, Diana.
Sorry.
So sorry.
That does not contradict the fact that one thing can have both an ultimate truth and a conventional truth. All phenomena, so they're kind of like seemingly conflicting statements that the ultimate truth and conventional truth are different entities. That's clearly stated. Yet all phenomena have two truths. They have two truths. They possess, they have two truths. They have an ultimate truth and a conventional truth. And those two truths that one entity, one thing has, let's say a sprout has, they are himself form a new entity. They have their own entityness, or not entityness. They are one entity. They are one nature. But they can't be. So in other words, the fact that they are one nature or one entity means that one can't arise without the other. It's like the two sides of a coin, the two faces of a medallion in Italian. You can't separate. You could imagine with a bandsaw cutting a thick medallion in half so that you have the two faces, but they're forming one entity. They are inseparable, but just inseparability alone doesn't mean they're one nature. Just so when we talk about when the guru becomes inseparable, doesn't mean they becomes one nature. That's not enough to be one nature. They are. So let's continue here. So where did we get? Reading Jimpa's translation, just finished that. And since the last thing we reread was, and since the relationship of identical nature, and since theirs is a relationship of identical nature, that means the conventional truth and the ultimate truth of one thing, the two are known to be like being produced and being impermanent. That's the way Jimpa is translating it. You could translate it as like product and impermanent thing rather than being produced and so forth, which are also identical in nature. So product and impermanent thing are of one nature, but they're different conceptually to the mind. That's why you can use one as the reason in proving the other. What am I thinking about? Shankar.
The classic syllogism, right?
Which is?
Sound is impermanent because of it. Sound is a product because of it being impermanent.
I never heard of that. Sound is impermanent because it's a product.
Yeah, that's what I'm. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Why is that so? Sound, someone might think sound is, doubt maybe from the Vedic texts or something, misinterpreting the meaning that the Vedas are eternal or something, thinking that sound is permanent. But you can demonstrate to someone by ringing a bell or hitting a gong that sound is produced as a product of causes and conditions. And because product is a synonym, is one nature with impermanent, it can be used as because it's conceptually different to the mind than impermanent, it can be used as the reason to prove impermanence. So we've mentioned that before, but maybe hearing it again in different settings will start to make some sense. Okay, so then continuing in Jimpa's translation. So we just broached this term, isolate or dopa. So the phrase often, there are many things that like this that are one nature but are of different conceptually. Relative conventional truth and ultimate truth. What is something else which is one nature but conceptually different? Oh, okay, interesting.
Any relationship, mother, daughter, sister,
They're one
Is
nature?
would that be one nature? That's what came to mind.
Mother and daughter are one nature?
Well, the person, myself, I'm a daughter and I'm a mother.
Oh, okay, okay. With respect to yourself. Maybe, yeah, you play with that a little. What are you thinking, Luis?
Space and permanence.
What is it?
Space and permanence. Physical space doesn't change. It's permanent. Comes in and out of existence. Oh, it's sorry, I had parts.
Yeah, then I'm not sure that works. Anyway, we'll come back to that on Monday. There's some other things that are related like that. Okay, so then continuing. As for the character of the individual members of this division, the defining characteristics of conventional truths and ultimate truths, this is, as mentioned above, when the individual truths were defined as what is obtained by the two types of valid cognitions. So I read verse 623, okay, several pages before this. It said, ultimate truths are found by, correct vision, and conventional truths are seen by false vision, or something to that effect. So now here's this quotation from Bodhisattva Charyavatara that causes so much problem with people who criticize Lama Tsongkhapa's view, or even Chandrakirti's view. Now, if what is presented here is to be harmonized with Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way, Bodhisattva Charyavatara, how would you explain the following in that text? So this is, I said, this is in the 9th chapter, the 2nd verse. Jimpa's translation is, the conventional and the ultimate, these are accepted to be the two truths. That's simple. That's the first two lines. The second two are more problematic. The ultimate is not the object of intellect. That's literally translating, and that's how most people would say. The ultimate is not the object of lo. What is it, Tibetan? What do we say? Dondam loi chuyul min. So Jimpa translates it as not the object, but here it says, Dondam loi chuyul min. Chuyul and yul, yul usually means object, right? When we say subject and object, Yul and Yul Chen from Lobrik. So Chuyul, what does that mean? Do you know? Any of the two scholars here, John and Paul?
It's usually more like the sphere of activity.
Yeah.
So it's not within the sphere of activity of a awareness alone, I think.
Yeah, and so
It's not an object within the sphere of activity of an ordinary awareness. Something
right,
like that.
that's how we would add extra words. But here, so this person is taking this, or this qualm is presenting that verse as problematic, because it seems like the ultimate is not the object of intellect, ordinary mind. The intellect, or lo, is said to be conventional. Literally, that's what it's saying. The only thing that Jimpa, I think, leaves out is he translates, he has object. It should say the sphere rather than, there should be the sphere of the intellect. The intellect is said to be conventional. So the implication is that because the mind, the ordinary mind, is a conventional phenomena, how can it know the ultimate? It's not within its sphere. Okay, making sense?
Yeah.
Could you repeat that again, please? The last sentence you mentioned.
Yeah. So the implication of this is that because the intellect, the mind, is a conventional, is a conventional phenomena, how could it possibly know the ultimate, which is outside its sphere? Its sphere is the conventional. It's a conventional thing.
So that's the qualm, basically.
Yeah, that's the main problem. So the first two lines here, reading Jimpa again, present the division into the two truths. Then, when identifying the individual members of that division, so that was the first two lines. Then the second two lines, the ultimate truth is identified in one line. The ultimate is not the object of intellect. That's that third line. While conventional truth is identified in another line, the intellect is said to be conventional. The assertion that what has been presented as the thesis in the preceding line, that the ultimate is not the object of intellect, is being established by the subsequent line, the intellect is said to be conventional, does not appear to be the intent of the text at all. Lama Khapa is saying. Would Chandrakirti have been saying that? Why not? You're shaking your head. No, Shankar, why not?
Well, I mean,
would Chandrakirti have been analyzing Shantideva's verse?
No, he wouldn't, because he was earlier.
Yeah, Shantideva came before. Who were we saying? Before Chandrakirti, or who came first? Chandrakirti came before Shantideva, right? So what is being talked about here? It says the assertion that what has been presented as the thesis in the third line, the preceding line, the thesis is the ultimate. So if you have a syllogism, you have a thesis. The ultimate is not the object of intellect. It's not the sphere of intellect. Can't be understood by mind, kind of. That's the thesis. The idea that thesis is being established by the subsequent line, the last line, the fourth line, that says the intellect is said to be conventional. So you would say the thesis would the ultimate is not the sphere of intellect because the intellect is said to be conventional. That would be kind of like syllogism, right? A proposition. That does not appear to be the intent of the text at all, although many people take it that way. In fact, the identification of the two truths found here in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara appears to be a restatement of the following passage from the Meeting of the Father and Son Sutra, that we've just been talking about, as quoted in Shantideva's own compendium of training. Why does Lama Tsongkhapa point this out? Because Shantideva wrote Bodhisattva Charyavatara, but he also composed the compendium of trainings, the Shiksha Samuchaya, which is kind of like Nagarjuna's Sutra Samuchaya, sort of but adding much more commentary than to these Mahayana Sutras citations. Shantideva quotes various citations from Mahayana Sutras to bolster his Bodhisattva Charyavatara presentation, sort of prove that it's not just made up by him, it all has great sources. So Shantideva is the author of both. He's not the author of the meeting of the father and son, but he was aware of that and quoted that. And in that quotation says, of these two, the Tathagata sees the conventional to be the purview of the world. Oops, let me see. De la kunzobni jiktengi chupar dejin shekbe sixo. So here is the same chu without chu yul. So here he's saying purview. What did we say earlier? Of these two truths, the Tathagata, the Buddha, sees the conventional to be the purview of the world. And Jeffrey translates this how? The one gone thus, the Tathagata sees conventionalities as the province of the world. Jimpa says the purview of the world. That which is the ultimate is ineffable. It is not an object of knowledge. It is not an object of detailed knowledge. It is not an object of thorough knowledge. It is not shown. Maybe you say it cannot be shown, maybe. Jeffrey translates, the Tathagata, he translates the one gone thus. The Tathagata sees conventionalities as the province of the world. So this is the Buddhist teaching in the meeting of the Father and Son Sutra. That which is the ultimate is inexpressible, is not an object of knowledge, is not an object of individual consciousness, is not an object of thorough knowledge. It is undemonstratable, undemonstrable. Correct pronunciation. I have trouble with these long words, as you see. So I don't mind saying, if I were Joe Biden, I would drop out. My mind is becoming mush, but it's up to Joe.
Let's not go there.
I'm just saying that over the 2 years, this last couple of years, my mind is becoming less and less acute. So this is what Lama Tsongkhapa is saying. In fact, the identification of the two truths found here in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara verse that we just read appears to be a restatement of the following passage from the meaning of the meeting of Father and Son Sutra, quoted in Shantideva's own compendium of training. So that's what we just read. So that seems to be a restatement of that. Then Lama Tsongkhapa says, the meaning of the statement that the ultimate truth is not knowable, right? That's what the Bodhisattva Charyavatara text was in very briefly was saying. What the ultimate truth is not an object of intellect. The meaning of the statement, the ultimate truth is not an object of intellect or is not knowable, is that it is not an object of cognition in the manner that I will explain below when interpreting a passage from a sutra called Entering into the Two Truths, the Entering into the Two Truths Sutra. Otherwise, that means if it were to be taken literally, if the ultimate truth is not an object of any cognition at all, this will contradict the statement in that same meeting of the Father and Son Sutra that because the Buddha has directly actualized both conventional and ultimate truth, namely emptiness, well, meaning the ultimate truth, namely emptiness, he is defined as omniscient. Because it said that he realized the two truths in that same sutra. So the same sutra wouldn't be contradicting itself, right? Same teaching of the Buddha. So the Buddha definitely realizes the truths. So it can't be said that it is not the object of, is not an object that can be known. I will touch upon this point about the Buddhist cognition of the two truths more extensively in a section below as well. And Jinpa's note says this discussion appears later in relation to the resultant ground. So that's near the end of the text, 533 to 539. So you can read ahead and see what's talked about there. How are we doing? Making sense so far? Okay. So then continuing, as for the identification of conventional truth in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, it is not that the intellect alone should be taken as such. The intended referent is the object of the intellect. Because the verse had said, what? The intellect is said to be conventional. It is not that the intellect alone should be taken as the conventional. The intended referent is the object of the intellect is the conventional. So the ordinary mind is, its object is conventional truth. The ordinary mind that is obscured with dualistic perceptions, all of our ordinary mind, everything appears to be inherently existent, right, to it? To the eyes, the ears, the nose, taste, body, even to the mind, everything appears to be inherently existent. And for individuals that are still under the influence of ignorance, they believe that. And so that prevents them from apprehending the ultimate with this conventional mind. Only even a bodhisattva on the 10th ground, their conventional mind does not perceive emptiness directly. Only maybe in some subtle oblique way can you say that remembering consciousness is a direct perception. Shanka, what are you thinking?
But okay, so I get that Lama Tsongkhapa is saying that that's not the intention of what Shantideva says. However, it is also true that when I say the intellect, it is a conventional. It's the conventionality, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I was trying to.
So, but some people say what that means. Many people, even today, even scholars and practitioners of Nyingma, Kagyu, and so forth, they say that Lama Tsongkhapa is wrong. That it means that the ultimate truth is not an object of the mind at all. Okay, so just let me read a little bit more and we will end with some dedications. As for the identification of conventional truth in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, it is not that the intellect alone should be taken as such. the intended referent is the object of intellect. As I just read that. Just as the sutra states this to be the purview of the world, what is the purview of the world? The conventional. Here too, it refers to facts obtained within the sphere of experience or from the purview of the worldly or conventional consciousness, which perceives false realities. Again, sometimes Jimpa's syntax leaves me. Let me see. Let me read Jeffrey's translation on 223 and 224. So at the bottom of 223 in Jeffrey's translation, if the meaning of Shantideva's statement that the ultimate is not an object of an awareness, of a lo, or what is it in Sanskrit? Mati? Sumati, losang.
Maybe, or buddhi. I don't know what it is here.
If the meaning of Shantideva's statement that the ultimate is not the object of an awareness is not posited that way, but instead is taken to mean that the ultimate is not an object of any awareness, this would, so Jeffrey's qualifying more clearly, if that statement that it's not, the ultimate is not the object of an awareness is not posited exactly like that, but instead is taken to mean that it is not the object of any awareness, that would contradict the explanation in the Father and Son Sutra that a conqueror is posited as omniscient because of having actualized all that have the aspect of emptiness, conventionalities, and ultimates. This will also be explained more below. And then he says, Shantideva's identification of obscurational truth, conventional truths, does not mean that only awarenesses are posited as obscurational truths. Rather, they are objects of awareness, objects of awarenesses. Obscurational truths, conventional truths are objects of awareness. It doesn't mean that only awarenesses are posited as conventional truths. Rather, they are the objects of awarenesses. Conventional truths are objects of awareness. You have to read that again and again to see what he's talking about. Moreover, since the meaning of the Father and Son Sutra speaks of those objects of awareness as the province of the world, they are the objects found within the province, that is to say, as objects of activity of the worldly, that is, conventional consciousness comprehending falsities. Hence, the meaning of Shantideva's assertion that objects of awareness are not conventionalities is to be taken that way. Okay, so we will go over that again at the beginning of next class. That's what we'll start. I'll just for auspicious read the beginning here, the next paragraph. A definite enumeration is only two truths. That in Jeffrey, this is now he has in brackets sort of dividing off. Or reading in Jimpa, the division of objects of knowledge into two truths underlines the point that all objects of knowledge are exhausted within this twofold division. For a scriptural citation on this point, there's a passage from the meaning in the Sun Sutra quoted above. And this is also stated explicitly in the meditation on the definite revelation of suchness. So that's where we'll begin next time. And we'll review this last paragraph about analyzing Shantideva's verse, what's meant by that in the two truths. Okay, how are you doing? Thumbs up, couple thumbs up. Yeah. So Any questions? KT, you're obscured. Maybe you have low bandwidth. Do you have any questions?
I do, but I'll come on Monday.
Okay.
And thank you. This has been really helpful. And I'm thinking about the Heart Sutra again, about what you mentioned last Monday with Rahula's homage.
Right.
And linking that to this the intellect statement about the intellect is said to be conventional. Yeah, I'll be there Monday.
Right. So those of you who are interested, if you have a chance to listen to the recording of last Monday's discussion group was good. You can also hear Louise's excellent chanting of this praise that is associated with Rahula, but the scholars say was not actually written by Rahula. Louise, do you want to do an encore? No? Okay. You can listen to the recording. Okay.
Let me get the words perfect first.
Okay. Okay. So if no questions, let's dedicate the merits, thinking in particular of our friend Jeffrey Hopkins, who's recently passed away, and also Nadine's dear friend of many years, her doggie Tashi, who recently passed away, dedicating the merits that wherever those two beings, in addition to all the other dedications, wherever those two beings are now, whether in the bardo or already having taken birth, that they might eventually very quickly find the perfect Mahayana guru, make the realizations of the path from guru devotion up to enlightenment and quickly achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So then just beyond that, Anna, dedication after that. There we go. Gewadi Nyurduda Lama Sangye Drugyurne Roa Chikyang Malupa De Sala Kupasho Changchu Semcho Rimpoche Make Panam Ke Gyuche Ke Panyamba Me Bayang Gune Gontu Pelbasho. And in our dear Master Lama Zopa Rinpoche, peerless teacher and assembly of children of the victorious ones, Shravakas, Pratika Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and sons, together with your lineage, all objects of refuge of the infinite realms, please now bestow the virtue and goodness to accomplish this prayer. In holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you, Lama Zopa, wore the armor of patience, which itself is the word Sopa, that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. Sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, while striving exclusively for the welfare of the victorious one's teachings and mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. At that point, I lost hope. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truths of the oceanic blessings of the Triple Gem and the great waves of the bodhicitta of the Bodhisattvas, may the smile of a new reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for us fortunate disciples. And then you who are my eyes for viewing all the infinite scriptures, the supreme gateways for fortunate ones traveling to liberation, engaging with skillful means, moved by mercy, illuminating spiritual friends. The implication is, please live long and stable lives. So thank you very much for your patience and endurance and your strong jawbones for chewing these dry bones. Look forward to seeing you next Saturday. Hopefully, many on Monday. Be good. Take care.
Thank you, Venerable George.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Happy
you.
birthday,
Thank you,
Venerable
Venerable George.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you,
Happy birthday.
Anna.
George.
Thank you.
You left. Thank you, Anna.